Hello, this is Ashee from Crafting with Ashee and welcome to this video. Thank you for dropping by. This is the card we're making today. It's this lovely rainbow card. I was inspired to make this by a card I saw on YouTube and I wanted to make my own version, and this is what I came up with. So I really love it, so I thought I'd share it with you today and show you how I made this. Now I've got a piece here of basic white cardstock that measures 14.35 centimeters by 10, and we're going to do some ink blending. So I'm going to bring in my blending tools, which I have in this lovely little caddy from Stampin' Up. And the first colour we're going to start off with here is going to be Poppy Parade, and that'll be my red. So let's take my first brush, and I've got a little dot on the back of the brushes so I know which brush goes with which colour family. So we're going to just go in with our Poppy Parade here and start to ink it up. And then next colour we're going to go in with is our Calypso Coral, and you can see I've speeded things up here for ease, otherwise it'd be here forever. And we're just going to blend the colour and then blend it a little bit into the previous colour, as you can see there. So that's our lovely little Calypso Coral. So let's close it up and move on to our next colour, which is Crushed Curry, and this will be our yellow. So let's go with our next brush, and here you can see I'm just blending it again into the previous colour and then blending a little bit so you still see the proper yellow colour. You don't want to lose the definition of your rainbow as well, but you want to make sure you also can fit all of your colours into your piece of paper. So you can see here I'm just wanting a little bit more yellow on the side, make it a little bit more defined, and there you go. So that's our Crushed Curry. So close that up, and next we're going to move on to our next colour, which is going to be our green, and I'm using here, you'll be able to see gorgeous granny apple green, I should say, and we're going to just blend that in. There we go, just making it a little bit more defined, bringing it a little bit further down the card, and that's our green done. So put that brush back. I'm trying to put all of them back now because I've got a ton of them on my desk, and you can see here me showing you the dot on the back, and that's how I know which brush is for which colour. I'm going to move on to our blue, and I've used Balmy Blue here. It's a nice light blue and it doesn't give a dark colour, and we're just going to go in again. I start off at the edge and then bring the colour into the centre of my card, as you can see here, and there we go. There is our lovely Balmy Blue colour. So, as I said, nice blue, and I'm giving a nice defined blue to our rainbow. And then last colour but not least is going to be our purple that I'm going to use, and this is going to be Gorgeous Grape, lovely deep purple, which I adore using. So there we go. This is going to be the final bit of our rainbow, and there we have our rainbow background. So we're just going to let that dry properly before we move on to the next step. So there you go, you can see our lovely rainbow colour, there you go. And we're going to do a little bit of stamping, and I'm going to use a stamp set here that says Quiet Meadow. I'm going to use this text stamp, and I'm going to be using a white craft ink, and I'm just going to use my hand initially just to stamp all over the background. And this is going to be really subtle. You can't really see it very well on the camera, but in real life you can see it. It's just a very subtle stamping in the background. It just gives a little bit of interest where there's no other element on the card. You can see here I've switched to my block just to give me a little bit more oomph while I stamp. And there we go, just moving about, higgledy-piggledy, no rhyme or reason to what I'm doing, just covering the background. You can't read any of it, it's just a little text in the background. So there we go, and our white craft pad comes uninked, so you do need to ink it before you use it. So I'm going to close it up, and you can see I'm showing you the inker, and they come together, so you just need to re-ink it before you use it, and then you need to wash off your stamp obviously afterward. I'm just using the simple sham here and get all of that ink off. Okay, so now we're going to move on and stamp a little bit of splatters, and I like having a stamp that actually stamps my splatters for me. And we're going to do some sort of, tone on tone. So you can see here me stamping purple splatters in the purple, and we're going to stamp blue splatters in the blue, etc, etc. So we're going to go back through our colours. That was Gorgeous Grape, And here we're going to go into our next colour, which is Balmy Blue. And as I said, this just again is just adding detail to our background, so we have a beautiful background for our sentiment, because we're not going to be doing much else besides our sentiment, so we want our background to really sing here. So there we go, that was Granny Apple Green. And then here I'm moving on, as you can see, to my crushed curry, and there we go, just adding a little bit here and there, not too much. And then next we've got our Calypso Coral, and I'll just keep on cleaning my stamp set between each ink pad on my chamois. As you can see, chamois is so easy to use, it's lovely. And there we have all of our stamping done on our background. So I'm going to let that give it a little bit of a dry up with my heat tool off the camera, and then we are going to be doing our next piece, which will be actually doing some stenciling. And I've taken away my craft sheet so that I don't get stencil and paste all over my nice craft paper, my nice grid paper I should rather say. And I'm taking here my stencil, and this is the Artistic Mask stencil, and I'm just going to use some post-it note tape and hold my piece of paper to the stencil at the back like that with the post-it note tape, so nothing will move around. And we're going to be using some of our shimmery embossing paste, or texture paste I should rather say, and I'm just going to layer it on here with a spatula, and you're just going to spread it over the stencil like you're spreading butter on a piece of bread. Just think of it just exactly like that, as if you're just buttering the toast. So you don't want a thick layer, or if you really want a thick layer, fine, but I tend to go for a thinner layer. And you just make sure you've caught it all the whole piece of cardstock, and then you can just see, just scrape off any excess with your spatula. And you need to make sure that you put your stencil now in water straight away and wash it, otherwise it'll harden and then it's an absolute devil to get it off. So there we have our background. We're going to let that dry, and now we're ready to move on to the next step. And you can see here it's totally dry, which is exactly what we want. So now we can build our card. So here I've got a card base, which is a standard A6 card base, and this is thick basic white cardstock. So it's an A4 sheet cut in half and then folded in half, and we're going to stick down our panel just onto the front here, and you can see me using a ton of Tombow mono adhesive on the front just to really make sure my panel will stick down, because there's a lot of dimension on that panel. We had a lot of different mediums on it, so we want to make sure it stays stuck. Now I'm going to bring in my stamp set, and this is the Wanted to Say stamp, and I've cut everything out to make life easier, and I've cut out the background in basic black, and I've cut it 3 times so we can layer one on top of the other to create some little bit of dimension. And this is the stamp set that says Feel Better Soon, or the die I should rather say. So you can see me here just using my reverse tweezers and my Tombow to glue one on top of the other, and this will just give a slight dimension to our sentiment without needing to use foam pads or dimensionals, which will be quite hard to get on the back of the sentiment. And I'm just using my silicone mat here to try and not get glue all over my grid paper. So put glue all over the back of my sentiment. I'm going to layer the last one up just like that. So that's that background, and I love having this the sentiment plus the shadow like this. It just really makes it so pretty. And here we go with our white, which is our actual sentiment. And this is when it's really great, as I said, to have the silicone mat, because any splodge of glue will go on the mat instead of on your grid paper. So just getting glue everywhere. I know it looks like I'm putting a lot down, but actually I'm not. I'm just putting tiny bits down. And here you can see me just using my grid paper to get rid of any excess so it won't splodge out, or I should say my silicone mat, and that will just wipe off very easily with a wet cloth. And there you can see our sentiment. So now we're just going to put, you can see here my Tombow fights me at times. I'm just going to put a bit of glue on the back here. Well, a bit more than a bit of glue, but there's so much dimension on my background that I don't want this moving anywhere. So we're going to put that down, hold it in place, and I'm just going to punch and put it over the top, and that will just keep it flat and hold it until the glue takes. So you can see here I've got some little hearts, and this was from the stamp set that is the Cracker and Treat box, and I cut out these little hearts here in Poppy Parade cardstock, and I'm just going to use these now to decorate the front of my card. So I'm just seeing where I want to put them, laying them out. I'm going to keep to the rule of 3. Am I? Well, I'm going to use all of them. We'll see. I've kept 2. I have done it. What I've done here is actually just do the rule of uneven numbers. So it's still, instead of the rule of 3, it's 5. I always keep to uneven numbers because it just makes things look less symmetrical and a little bit more pleasing to the eye. So now I'm going to take my pick tool, and just use these to pick up my hearts and stick them where I've put the little dabs of glue. If I can see my glue, that is. So you can see I'm just using the sticky end and just using the other end just to press it down. So there we go, and last one there. There we are. They're all down beautifully. So put that away, clear the decks, and those are the 2 cards. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, I'd be grateful if you could give it a thumbs up so YouTube know, and please don't forget to subscribe to future videos. If you want more information about the project, it's all on the blog post, and the links to that are in the description box below. So thank you again, and until next time, enjoy being creative. Bye.